At least Minnesota sports fans had something to get excited about yesterday after the Minnesota Timberwolves laid an absolute egg at home versus the Denver Nuggets in Game 3. What did they get excited about, however? It was J McCarthy's first practice with the Minnesota Vikings. You saw him spinning the ball, put on that red jersey with the number 9 on it, practicing with teammates for the first time. It was rookie minicamp season for J McCarthy, Dallas Turner, and the Minnesota Vikings. And there is a big takeaway after just one day of this rookie minicamp. And this take is presented by Hokeland Farm. Contact Jared at Hokeland Farm, 952-491-1541 for the best rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef. It's good stuff. Don't take my word for it, though. Contact Jared and get the best rotationally juicy, 100% grazed beef around. Contact Jared and get 20% off your first order by telling him you heard about Hokeland Farm on the Minnesota Tim podcast. 952-491-1541. So my biggest takeaway wasn't necessarily J McCarthy's performance. Apparently he had a few incompletions. He even had to run because he had too many incompletions, and there was a bet going on between him and the defense, or the head coaches made it that way. So J McCarthy had to run after practice because he had too many incompletions. I heard he even threw a pick 6 in there. So he's gonna make passes. He's going to make some incompletions. He's going to throw some picks. It was his first day. I'm not going to hold it against him. But what stands out is the post-game, post-practice press conferences and comments by Kevin O'Connell and J McCarthy. Because this is what the Minnesota Vikings invested in. They invested in a guy that is going to study his butt off. I believe J McCarthy's greatest strength is just how mature of a player he is. Meaning, this guy is going to be head and face into his playbook 24/7. After practice, before practice, he's going to stick around and watch film. He's a guy that I believe is going to be watching film Saturday night at 11 p.m. before the football game on Sunday. He's a guy that's not going to take any days off during the week to prepare for that next game. And it's not a shot at Kirk Cousins, because I believe that it's actually healthy for players or professionals of any profession to have a work-life balance. So Kirk Cousins taking a Monday or Tuesday off every single time during the week, I actually think that's a good thing. But J McCarthy, he gives me Tom Brady vibes, and not just because he went to Michigan, but just because of how mature he is, because of how dedicated he is. There's comments in this ESPN article from Kevin Seifert, and he said he wasn't overwhelmed. McCarthy said, "It didn't feel like my first day. I've been going over the offense for a long time now, so being able to go out there and perform and execute, that's new, but it was nothing that was overwhelming or too much." So he wasn't overwhelmed by the plays, by the system. And Kevin O'Connell even said something about his dedication or his readiness. He says, and not because anybody told him so, but he's trying to have the best possible day that he can today and trying to do the same thing tomorrow. This guy is a process-driven guy and understands that there's a long road ahead of him, that we're just trying to make incremental gains that will be solidified as part of how he plays quarterback for a long time. So I've been really impressed with him so far and look forward to getting another full day tomorrow. Now, you have to take everything that these guys say with a grain of salt, because when he first became the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, he made comments about being impressed by Kellen Mond because he made a simple check at the line of scrimmage. Well, then he ended up getting cut a few weeks later. So you got to take everything that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah say, because they're going to compliment, the worst player on the roster for doing something. But this really seems like this is J McCarthy's DNA. And he talked about that in the pre-draft process. He said, I'm just a winning DNA player. And I pushed back against that because my initial response was that, winning in the NFL is different than high school. Winning in the NFL is different than college. And it is. So I'm still going to push back against it. But his prep to win is winning DNA. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate to on-field success. But what I don't worry about, or I don't have any concerns about, is J McCarthy's dedication to being a great, all-time great football player. I believe that the dedication is there, and I believe that's why he was a top 10 draft pick. I've been on record a few months ago saying that his stock is going to rise because of what coaches, general managers are going to hear in the pre-draft process. He's great at the podium. He's great at a press conference. His dedication is going to outweigh anybody else's. But the question that I've always had throughout this entire process of drafting J McCarthy is, can he make the necessary throws? Can he carry a football team? Is he a franchise guy for 15 years? Or is he a guy that's going to need to be carried? Those are the questions that need to be answered. But the question of dedication, the question of love for the game, the question of being worried if he's not putting in the time or goofing off or any of that garbage, no, that question is already answered. And there's only been one rookie minicamp practice, and I'm not surprised by it. Because his teammates have raved about him. Coaches have raved about him. Jim Harbaugh said he should be the number 1 overall pick. But, of course, he coached him, so there's extreme bias there. So those are my biggest takeaways. J McCarthy, he's exactly what we anticipated so far after one rookie minicamp practice. He came prepared. He came ready. He threw a couple incompletions and a pick 6, but who really cares about that in the first rookie minicamp practice? Those are my biggest takeaways. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button right there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate, review, and follow the podcast wherever you're listening to this podcast. Again, check out Hoagland Farm for rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef, 952-491-1541. For 20% off your first order by telling Jared you heard about Hoagland Farm on the Minnesota Tim podcast. Everyone, thank you for making this podcast and this episode a part of your day.